Okay, let's switch to FL and get to business. Remember this?
You don't mean nothing at all. Hey, hey. What do?
What is up, creatives, disruptors, culture shifters, mind benders, storytellers, tongue twisters, and history makers? That is one long introduction. Today, we're about to skydive into the world of the legendary Timbaland. I'm going to walk you through his production secrets while we both at the same time are bopping our heads to this infectious beat that I made. As always, I'm going to put my own twist on it. Remember this, steal like an artist, but respect the OGs. Do not be like MGK. Timbaland, born Timothy Zachary Mosley, rose to prominence in the late 1990s, early 2000s as one of the most influential producers in the music industry. Timba left a huge mark on hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Collaborating with artists like Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, Justin Timberlake, Nelly Furtado, Timbaland has crafted numerous chart-topping hits and timeless classics, earning him multiple Grammy Awards and widespread acclaim. Here are some of the most famous collabs he took part in. The Way I Are featuring Carrie Hilson and D.O.E., Crimea River by Justin Timberlake, Promiscuous by Nelly Furtado, Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake, Give It To Me by Nelly Furtado and Justin Timberlake, Apologize featuring One Republic, and Get Your Freak On by Missy Elliott. Nelly Furtado's discovery by Timbaland significantly impacted her path in the music industry. Timbaland first became aware of Nelly Furtado through her breakout single I'm Like a Bird that was gaining attention in the year 2000 upon its release. Timba first met Justin in the late 1990s when Justin was transitioning from his boys band days with NSYNC to his solo career. Apparently, Justin sought out Timbaland to work on his debut solo album, Justified, which was released in 2002. This trio friendship between Timbaland, Nelly Furtado, and Justin Timberlake deserves a whole other video. I'm just gonna say that I spent a ton of time during my teenage listening to the music that they were coming up at the time. Oh boy, this hits till this day. Alright, let's get to the drums. At this point, I probably watched a ton of videos where Tim starts making beats by jamming. Ideas flow freely without overthinking. Oftentimes, he would simply beatbox a unique groove.
I start from scratch, making a beat with my mouth. Cymbals, then I can duplicate it on a drum machine.
Other times, he would use obscure sounds as samples like baby cooing in Aaliyah's track, Are You That Somebody? Or garbage cans and rakes and other house yard-ish in track Give It To Me with Justin Timberlake and Nelly Furtado.
I got tired of using my ASR 10, so I just started going to garbage cans and rakes, spoons and plate and saying to myself, how would I make music if I ain't had no money? If I ain't had no way to afford it?
And so his fundamental idea of making music is simplicity. Remember that. He says music is all around us. So that means you too can sample your whole house, even if you don't have money for keyboards and expensive plugins. I found that Timbaland's beats typically sit higher than the classic hip-hop tempo, somewhere in the area between 100 to 110 BPM. And so I set my FL to 102 BPM just because I felt like it. I just happened to have this African bongo, so I started jamming until I came out with a rhythm that I liked. And so this is the final loop that I used for the beat. I highly recommend that you actually listen to this mixing part in headphones or some kind of earbuds just so you can clearly hear the changes that I make. And so I added parametric EQ and removed some unwanted harsh frequencies. Then I added some compression to even out some peaks and bring up gain reduction. Next, I added some Heatwave by Slate Digital. This is a saturation plugin. Another EQ, removing subby lows and very high treble. And the last plugin is Pancake. What it does, it moves this loop from left to right as it progresses. Here's what it sounds like with effects. Next, I added this West Africa percussive library that I have in Contact, and I only used this one bell sound from it to create another complementary groove. So it doesn't really sound that interesting, but I knew that I'm going to make some changes to it. Parametric EQ, basically cut out everything up until the mids, and I boosted the presence and the treble. Then I added stereo shaper just because one channel was dominating the other one. And in this case, stereo shaper just basically filled one channel with another one. So left and right are the same volume. Then I added compression again to control the peaks. Same as with the previous loop. Next one is saturation by Slate Digital. Same parametric EQ, cutting lows, cutting highs. And again, pancake to send the signal from one ear to another as the loop progresses. And here's the interesting part. If I open two of them side by side, we will see that one of them is panning from left side to the right side, and the other one is panning from right side to the left side. So they're both playing at the same time in each ear, and then they swap, if that makes sense. That's why I'm recommended to use some kind of earbuds so you can hear this. It was a minor detail, but I thought it would be cool to have. After applying effects, I consolidated the second loop, and here's what it sounds like. Now two of these percussive loops playing together at the same time. That is basically my percussive foundation for this beat. Real quick, I want to let you know that I have a free sample pack for you that you can use for your beats. I'm going to put the link to the preview video right here, and you will find the link to download those samples right there as well. Let's go back to the main topic of our video. Next, I started adding and layering one-shots of kicks and snares. Keep in mind, Timbaland's typical rhythm backbone is simple. Doesn't that remind you of something? I actually changed the second part of this pattern. Timbo mentioned he layered drums a lot to make them unique. Frankly, back in those days, drum samples were not that hard-hitting, so layering them would do the trick. Not a bad tip even today when there's for sure no lack of hard-hitting drums available. And so I layered mine anyway. So the kick you just heard provides the body. The one I layered on top of that provides longer tail, and I added a third kick that provides thumpy initial transient. As for snare, this one was number 1. Then I layered it with this one. Again, it provides a bit of a longer tail, and it's just a little more prominent in the high end. And then the third one is just a weird snare. Adds texture and a bit of a delay, and you can notice these 3 different transients it has. Really weird, but layered together, that's what all of these kicks and snares sound like. As far as effects, I sent all of the kicks to the same channel. I boosted at 58 Hz, ducked at 427 Hz, and I boosted a little more at 4022 Hz. And then I added Fruity Compressor, adjusted the threshold, and added some gain. As for snare, all 3 of them were also sent to the same channel, and the same thing again. I added compressor, adjusted threshold and gain, added parametric EQ, adding the lows. Nothing spectacular here. Timbaland loves shakers, so I added it somewhat sparingly, but I wanted it to sound 10% cooler, and so I added a delay which complemented the drum loop greatly. Here's what it sounds like on its own. And on the mixer channel, I have EQ boosting a little bit in the high mid, Fruity Compressor, and the delay that I was talking about. In this case, it's Baby Comeback. This is 1/8 dotted, and here's what it sounds like with all these effects. I turned up this main swing knob by 30%, and honestly, I love this knob and I use it pretty much in every beat that I make. I created a drum bus and routed all of the percussion and drum samples. On it, I have parametric EQ, removed lows, solid bus compressor, just a drum bus preset to glue all of these drums, and black box analog design, saturation plugin. Here's what they sound like together. Alright, let's move on to the vocal chops. In my opinion, Timbaland is the king of sampling his own voice and incorporating it into a beat either as a short vocal one-shot or a vocal phrase. Remember this and say it right?
You don't mean nothing at all. Hey, hey.
for this.
Woodoo woodoo. Woodoo woodoo.
Or play Cry Me a River and listen to. Or this. Those sounds were stuck in my head for decades, so let's carry on. It's almost unnoticeable. I mean, you can hear it if you really pay attention. It's not the center of attention, it's just that weird ear candy, that flavor, that extra, that artistic sprinkle of fairy dust, if you will. So I picked these seemingly generic vocal chops. This one sounds like a medium-sized dog barking. I pitched it by an octave and now it's a small dog barking. This is just a hey sound, and I pitched it an octave down and played with the formant a little. And the third sound, so all three of them have the same delay effect. So now I'm going to play everything with these vocal effects. Before even attempting to make Timbaland style drums, I was doing my research and found a couple of drum kits on Reddit that claimed to be in the style of Timbo. And so the bass is from this kit called Bounce by producer Alex Soltuz. Shout out to you, Alex. Thanks for the kit. I enveloped this one shot and made sure it cuts itself so it plays only the length of the note. Here's my bass pattern. As for effects, Amplifier by Brainworks. Next is Saturator by Slate Digital. And the last one is Basslane, which is the plugin that helps to keep low in mono. Everything after 400 hertz is gonna be in the stereo. Makes your bass audible on phones, small speakers that you may have. So here's what we got so far. So now I had a bouncy groove and no melodic samples so far. While creating this, I definitely wanted to use some kind of Eastern influenced melody. Timbaland loves East Indian music patterns. They sound very different from everything else out there. Actually, why don't you hear from Tim himself?
Bollywood, like Indian music. I love India. I love Indian food. I love the culture. So when I go overseas, I go like, to India and when I'm in London, I like really go to the record stores and buy all the Bollywood CDs. The way they play on their scale is totally different from American scales.
And so I opened Splice and found this Winds of India sample pack. I picked two samples, first of them being this one. And second, this one. The first one I pitched by 700 cents, panned it 40% to the left. Then I created a copy of this loop, pitched it up by 1200 cents. From bar 1 to the end of the bar 4 is copy of loop 1, and these chops are actually pocket for the snare. I chopped and rearranged some parts of this loop to create some stutter effect. At the end here, from bar 5 to the end of the bar 8 is a copy of this loop, but at a different pitch. And I didn't create grooves for the snare. I just felt like it was okay here without it. As for the second loop, pretty much the same technique here. This is that second loop, and this is just a copy of it, complementing it in a slightly lower pitch. I removed the parts of the sample, creating pockets for other vocal chops to shine. That way, there's no muddiness, and that's essentially the energy that I was approaching it with. I'll play all of this together, including those vocal chops that I went over just a little bit earlier. finally, we're at the part where you get to enjoy the beat. Please do a small favor for me. Just leave me a like. This really helps the channel. It exposes it to other viewers on YouTube. If you are interested in this kind of content, please comment what else you would like to see on this channel. Give me a specific topic. I read every comment. Just know you are appreciated. Peace out.